Welcome back to Talk News TV on GNN Global News Network. I'm Gerry Cornejo, and our guest this evening, if you have just tuned in, is Lieutenant Quema, SFPD, San Francisco Police Department. He and 9 other police officers from the San Francisco Police Department are here, and they have been interacting with their brother policemen, our own PNP, and the project is called P.E.T, Philippine Exchange Training. We were talking about that earlier. We'll be talking more about it in a while, but before anything else, I would like to say thank you to Mr. Victor Rottenberg. Yes, Vic. Hi there, Vic. Vic was the one who made all these interviews possible with the SFPD. He's my classmate. I got to visit him last year in San Francisco. We were in touch by email. Then he said, how would you like to have an SFPD delegation made up, headed by a Phil-American on your TV program? And I said, great, I would love that. And here you are now, and it's happening. So thank you again, Mr. Vic Rottenberg. By the way, Lieutenant Quema, what does Vic do for the SFPD?
He's in charge of all the property and disbursement of properties that the SFPD has to go through. He has an important position because it costs money now, and economic times are hard, so he has to watch where everything goes.
So does that mean you have to be on his good side to get things moving?
Pretty much so, but the good thing is most of the secretaries are Filipina, so there's a good interaction there.
By the way, again, if you just tuned in, Lieutenant Quema is a Phil-American. You were born and raised in the States, though you spent 3 years in Baguio. Can you tell us just a little bit about your family background here? Because I think even your wife is Filipina.
Yeah, my wife is half Japanese and half Filipina.
So you were born in San Francisco? Or?
Yes.
Oh, so funny thing is, you're the second native San Franciscan I've met, and the other one is also Filipino. The only native San Franciscans I met who were born and raised there are both Filipinos, you know. And because most of the people in San Francisco have been transplanted from other states, right?
Yes.
And you hardly get to meet anyone there. You know, where do you come from? I used to live in New York, in Washington, in LA, in Oregon, but you know, I mean, you seldom hear or meet anyone who's born and raised in San Francisco. So how long were you in San Francisco before you came to the Philippines and back to San Francisco, Eric?
I was born and raised in San Francisco. I came back to the Philippines at the age of 9. And I spent 3 years in Baguio, 9, 10, 11. When I first got here, I thought I was here for just a short visit. You know, my parents were born here. They met in the States, were going to school. They got married, had me, and then their visa ran out. They left me with my Lola and Lolo. So that's all I knew was the American way. When they called for me to come back, and I lived in Baguio, it was hard adjustment for me. There's no refrigerator, no cheeseburgers, no TV. Recreation was looking out the window at watching life pass by. It was a rude awakening, but at the same time, it taught me how hard life is in the Philippines. And we take a lot for granted in the States.
Of course, right.
Yes.
And can you tell us what you found out? Well, you've been coming here for the past 10 years, so you know very well, you know, what state the PNP is in. But were there any significant changes that you've noticed from the first time you've came here in 1999 to now 2009? How has it been? I mean, what kind of progress have you seen with the PNP, if any?
There is progress, and it's for the better. The PNP is trying to really professionalize their organization. As you know, they're more backed in a military-style thinking and way of doing things. They're trying to civilianize in a way that brings them closer with the community. But the PNP officer is a well-disciplined officer, well-trained, working with limited resources and doing the best they can in such hard conditions. But a lot has changed since the time I've come here in the beginning.
Like, what are the concrete changes, for instance? I mean, okay, when you say professionalize, can you concretize this? What exactly about the new PNP professionalism that you've noticed or you've seen?
I see they institute a lot of programs working with the community. I see they're trying to give their officers better training, more training at closer intervals instead of pacing it far and few between. I see they're going after officers that they call rogue, corruption and wrongdoing and misdeeds. I know they have an image that's hard to break, one of corruption again, but there's 120,000 men and women in the PNP, and only a small number are bad, just like anywhere else, because as you know, police agencies are reflective of the community.
Yes.
And it's the same with the PNP, and they're trying the best they can to weed the officers out that are not good, but those that are good are hanging in there and doing the best job they can.
Okay, I'm just curious, Lieutenant Quema, because as you said, this was a teaching and at the same time a learning process. What did you learn from our PNP? I mean, this time around.
This time around, I learned that they hunger for knowledge and new skills and training, just as we do. They're willing and able to reach out to us when we come in here. We bond quite nicely together. We interact, we talk freely, we exchange ideas, and we go away, each of us goes away with something learned, something new.
But did you learn something that you can actually apply, you know, in your own SFPD, the San Francisco Police Department? Were there techniques or were there ways and means of doing things that you thought, hey, the SFPD could institute this? Was there anything like that or not really?
Not really in a way, because sometimes they operated, like I said, with limited resources. Because of that fact, it dictates on how they tactically respond to certain situations. I can give you an example, actually. If a group of officers are going down a long hallway in what we call as a stack formation, and the lead officer goes down because he's hit by a suspect's bullet, our policy or our training, one of the tactics is 2 officers behind him immediately go around in front of the wounded officer, hits the suspect that's shooting at them. The 2 officers behind pick the wounded officer up, give signals, verbal, evacuating, moving, and they retreat backward, bringing the injured officer, and the other 2 officers lay down cover fire as they're moving. We had the PNP demonstrate the same thing in the same scenario. When they were engaged by the suspect, instead of picking up the officer and moving back and shooting, all the PNP officers dropped to the ground and began shooting fire right down the tunnel at the suspect. We asked, why do you do that? It exposes you to bouncing bullets. They said, well, you guys in the States, you have these body armor, bullet-resistant vests. You can stand and deliver fire and engage and retreat at the same time because you have this body armor. We, on the other hand, the PNP, do not have body armor. So they hit the deck to protect themselves as best they can and just lay fire down there until they can overcome the suspect that's down there. And that's pretty risky, but I can understand why they do that. So our techniques and tactics are a bit different, and we show them what we do, hopefully that they come up to the level that we are at with the equipment that we have. But that's the exchange we have. But there's nothing really we took away from our interaction.
By the way, as I was mentioning earlier, I'd like this interview to be something of something like a documentary for the group or the delegation that went here now. So before you know it, this program's ending. So, but then before that happens, can you please mention all the 9 other officers that you brought with you this time around, and if just a little bit about them, maybe their fields of expertise. Aside from yourself, you're the head of the delegation. Who are the 9 other officers?
Second in command for me is Lieutenant Louis Espinda. He was the OIC, officer in charge of an elite unit that went after career criminals. It was called the P.E.T, Fugitive Recovery Enforcement Team. It's the longest running unit that brings in a lot of career criminals, parolees, dangerous felons, and that was his assignment. He's Portuguese, Hawaiian. He's married to a Filipina, and he's a very ardent supporter of this team.